Hello everyone, this is Braslow and welcome to another build video. This time we're going to utilize these very beautiful and stylish Rellana's twin swords, which are probably my favorite weapon right now. They're very stylish, very sleek, very fun to use, and offer you quite a lot of variety in terms of gameplay. So there's actually many ways to build around Rellana's twin swords, as if we take a look at their stats, their attribute scaling is all around the place, really. It scales off strength as well as dex, int, and faith, all of them with a C scaling. So technically you could basically build it around almost any stat depending on what you really want to go for. Plus, in attack power, you can see that it does not only do physical, it also does magic and also does fire. So in terms of stats then, our main stat is going to be dexterity with 50 in dexterity. The extra 5 is from Millicent's prosthesis and another 50 in intelligence. So that's going to be a total of 100 points into dexterity and intelligence to buff this weapon as much as possible. The reason we're putting this into intelligence and not faith is because while this weapon uses two different kind of attacks, as you can see, one sword is a magic sword, the other is a fire sword. If you use the Ash of War, the R1 is this Moonveil looking ability, the R2 is this tornado ability. One scaling off of faith, the other scaling off of intelligence. So far, what I've tried, and I've done a bunch of testing, no matter what I try to do to the tornado, while it does seem to stagger more often, is just way weaker than the Moonblade, Moonveil intelligence projectile thingy, which is this one right here. So the reason we're putting most points into intelligence and not faith is because we're going to try and get as much damage out of this weapon as possible, which means we're going to use the intelligence part of the sword and its scaling to basically top off the damage meters, quote unquote, speaking like an MMO player right now, and see it really in action. For our talismans, we're trying something different this time around. We are trying, of course, none other than Rellana's cameo. This one enhances attacks executed after maintaining the same stance for a while. What they mean by this is that if I take off this talisman, as you can see, I don't have any sort of buff on me right now. If I hold my stance and I don't execute any attack, after a while you can see the red buff sort of pop off around my body. And that indicates that when I'm red like this, I can execute any of these attacks, whether it's the Moonveil thing or whether it's the tornado, and it's gonna do additional damage. Now the other important one is I'm using the Ritual Sword Talisman, and I'll tell you why. It's because you can instead use something like the Fire Scorpion Charm, or the other version which I don't have here on my character, the Magic Scorpion Charm. Both of those Scorpion Charms raises either fire or magic attack by I think 10 or 12%. So if you want to use both of your Ashes of War, you can pop both of the Scorpion Talismans on, and or that way you will basically do more damage with both the fire scaling damage as well as the magic damage, right? But not only are these Scorpion Charms, so both of them stacked on top of each other will lower your negation twice, but also if you just want to use one of them, you're gonna have to specialize in just one damage type, which you could say that it doesn't matter since we're building around intelligence, but there might be situations where you could use faith, so it's completely up to you. This is sort of just like an alternative that you can use. Otherwise, what I'm using as sort of like a mediator between these two positions is the Ritual Sword Talisman. This one has one big drawback, but doesn't lower your damage negation, and also just completely boosts your AR no matter what you're doing, right? So even if you're using your Ashes of War, whether you're using the tornado, whether you're using the intelligence ability, or if you're just spamming R1 or R2, it doesn't matter. It boosts your damage overall completely, which means that you don't have to worry about either doing the magic damage or fire damage more. But the big drawback, of course, is that you have to be constantly at maximum HP. The other talismans are the Winged Sword Insignia and the Millicent's Prosthesis. These are not gonna boost the damage of your Ashes of War, because your Ashes of War are not fast enough to do enough consecutive damage to give you the buff that these talismans provide. This is mostly like a quality of life choice for me. Whenever I don't have time to use my Ash of War, or whenever I don't want to, the Winged Sword and Millicents are super nice because the basic attacks of these twin swords are very fast and can proc your buff in just about 3 hits, which is like super fast. Even the simple R2 attacks are very fast. And as you can see, the R2 attacks also utilize only the magic sword, which is probably also one of the reasons why you want to spec more into intelligence than faith. Maybe if you want more survivability and don't want to be as squishy, you could use the... I'll show you right now. You can use the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. You could also use any kind of survivability thing or any kind of quality of life thing. You can use the Twin Turtle Talisman or the weaker one from the base game. We're going to be also utilizing very heavily our Flask of Wondrous Physique, which is going to come very handy in optimizing this build even further. In this build, we're going to be using the Magic Shrouding Crack tier, which boosts our magic attacks, and an Intelligence Not Crack tier, which makes our intelligence grow from 50 to 60. The way this works is we're going to go through our classic ritual. We're going to pop our Howl of Shabriri into Golden Bough. Drink our flask. Get that magical damage boost. And then you're going to two-hand this. You're going to hold your cameo. And that's 6,000 damage right here. So in case you're afraid that you can't just spam your Ash of War, you absolutely can with this weapon. Boom, boom, boom. That was 4,500 damage. The reason I did not do 6,000 is because my blade themselves did not hit. So it's just the projectiles. So if you come close enough to the target where you can hit them with a sword as well as fire the projectile and hit them with that too, you can actually add even more damage on top of it. So just for a showcase, I'm going to stand a bit further back. I'm going to start firing off. As you can see, without even touching him with my sword, I almost did 5,000 damage. There I tried to do the tornado, I kind of failed miserably. There's one kind of disadvantage with this, and that's unless you have like an insane poise somehow, or you maybe have the Bulgo Talisman, but I don't think it really does much in PvE from what I've tested, you're gonna get broken out of your stance, whether you're doing this, or whether you're already casting the tornado or the Moonveil ability, very easily. Basically, a single hit will take you out of your stance and will take you out of your Ash of War. So you gotta make sure that you've got distance. Now, thankfully, unlike the tornado, you actually kind of benefit from having distance because you can just spam these attacks like pretty far. They don't have that much of a range, but you definitely have enough of a distance. And yeah, that's basically how it works. Rellana's Twin Sword, absolutely recommend when it comes to boss weapons, especially from the DLC. This one is probably in like my top 5 because of how extremely fun it is to use in both PvP and PvE. And yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. If you're going to try this, I hope you have fun because I think you absolutely will. And yeah, thanks for watching and have fun.